As we look at these 400s and these big returns from Shubman, dare I say that last 100 at Manchester, as well as he started the series, that 100 would have just made perhaps such a difference to him mentally, to even his perception. That was such an important 100, wasn't it, Sanjay?
I certainly think so, because it came under trying circumstances, having been on the field for close to 6 sessions, and being a captain when you're out there on the field for 6 sessions, the number of decisions that you have to make, the number of ebbs and flows, thoughts coming into your mind, and then losing the 2 batters quite cheaply meant that he walked in straight away after fielding those 6 sessions. Had to go through that initial phase wherein the ball was rearing off length, the variable bounce was there, and the ball was just zipping inside towards his front pad as well, from especially Jofra Archer and Ben Stokes. So all in all, the way he overcame all those phases of the game was indeed incredible. And there was also a passage of play wherein both him and KL batted for close to 130 balls without getting a boundary scoring opportunity, but not for one time playing a false shot. I think that speaks a lot about the concentration and about the determination that Shubman had to make that inning count, because he certainly felt that England were in with a chance once they picked up those 2 early wickets.
I mean, tremendous control and the lack of false shot. You remember when he came into the team, you were there, weren't you, Shubman Gill?
Yeah, I was there.
You saw this coming at that early stage? You can say you did.
I mean, I was just there for a series or so, where in 2018-19 he stepped in as a backup for KL and Hardik, wherein instead of those 2, Shubman and Vijay Shankar came into the team. And what I remember about Shubman's first impact on the setup was that right into the net session, his first net session, he played some wonderful shots, and he was playing shots wherein the ball was hurled quite fast by the sidearm specialists as well. And everybody sat up and took notice that here is a guy who's got a lot of time, can play some terrific shots off the front foot and back foot. But what I remember clearly was the extent of the initial moment that he had in those phases of his development, wherein big movements back and across, and that's why I think as his career has flowered from there on, the kind of small little adjustments that he's made, and now taking on this mantle of captaincy and not letting it affect you mentally. I think all in all, it's been a wonderful story for Shubman Gill, for having reached or having been in sight of such a remarkable achievement, which has stood the test of time, or rather more than 50 years that record has stood.
Yeah, absolutely. Add your strokes to this story, which is growing. Barun, you've played your own, you have your own equations with Shubman. You were part of the Titan squad that went on to win the IPL in 2022. You've been working in media where we talk him up so much as the prince and next big thing, the heir apparent, and sometimes that can have its own pressure. Here we're seeing Shubman Gill go through what is once in a lifetime sort of series.
And Ronak, I don't think it's going to be once in a lifetime. I think he's going to repeat a series performance where he comes close to this, because he has that air about himself. He has that quiet surety about himself, and he believes a lot in his ability to deliver time and time again. He obviously comes from an era where a lot of the youngsters find themselves focusing a lot on the T20 setup, on the one-day setup. But Shubman Gill has his sights set on Test cricket and doing an incredible job for India. Just with the way he goes about his game, there's almost an insatiable hunger which Shubman Gill has to score runs, and that is something you need to be a great. And I back Shubman Gill to be one of the greats of the game, of the modern era. It's too early to say. I know it's too early to say, but he just has that hunger, and the hunger is what defines people like Virat Kohli, like MS Dhoni, like Rahul Dravid. I would say they always had that hunger to score runs, and Shubman Gill has that hunger.
But he seems fairly level-headed, even though he's an IPL superstar. There were already talks about him after the Under-19 World Cup. Great start to your career when you play that kind of innings in Brisbane. Up, down, whatever. But Shubman seems pretty level as a guy. Is it fair to say?
I think that's been the case of guys who come from small town are always quite rooted and grounded because of the kind of upbringing that they have. And once you see that kind of an upbringing from the grandfather and the grandmother and what are their thought processes, then it certainly is going to show in the genes to follow. So very glad, not only for Shubman the player, but also the sacrifices that their families would have made right from his father now to the grandparents as well. And it's a great story because once you have players coming from the nooks and the corners of the country, such remarkable instances are quite motivating for the players who want to make a name playing for the country.
Yeah, I mean, I go back to what Ajit Agarkar said when he was appointed captain, that they hope they pick the right guy. They've been talking to people over the last year or so to try and get feedback from within the team, from those around Shubman. Navarro knew, obviously, worked with him closely. And the man, in addition to the player has shown his credentials in this series. But I guess we're getting great insight towards what Shubman Gill's made of in between the years as well.
Absolutely. When it comes to me, I think he was the only man because with the exclusion of most of the seniors, you wanted to start with a clean slate. You wanted somebody who can take this team forward, who can set a template for years to come, not just a series or 1 or 2 years. And I think Shubman is that man, not just because he scored a heap of runs here and England are on the mat when it comes to India, outplaying them in most of the games. Obviously, we see England 2-1 up, but India have played one of the best overseas series in a very long time with the leadership of Shubman Gill. And I feel Shubman Gill, again, is a smart operator. Just from the first test onwards, just seeing his cricketing acumen, he knew that he's a new captain and there are seniors in the team. He was open enough to take a lot of suggestions. Sometimes when captains come in, they feel it's my way or the highway, which sometimes doesn't work. You have to be smart and adaptable to also take in suggestions and work with your team. Shubman has shown, I think, all those leadership skills. He's shown a bit of aggression in the Lord's Test match. He's shown adaptability. He's shown openness, and he's also shown us some good cricketing acumen, especially in the Birmingham Test, where he made sure Akashdeep came from an end which he did not prefer, which Akashdeep did not prefer, but Shubman thought he would get wickets from there. So he has that gut which you need as a captain as well.
Right. I mean, we've been very forgiving of anything that he might have missed as a captain, given it's his first series, the choice of teams or Washington Sundar. It's all part of his learning process, and we're just loving the positives in Shubman.